NFL free agency and the NFL franchise tag deadline are almost here, and there is much uncertainty around the future of one of the better young edge rushers in the NFL, Yannick Ngakoue, out of the Jacksonville Jaguars. So let's take a look at some possible destinations. Now, this could be either via signing or potentially more likely a tag and trade. Now, the Jags still plan on tagging Yannick before that deadline. Yannick, though, does not want to play anymore in Jacksonville. This was his tweet earlier this week. The Jaguars are aware I no longer have interest in signing a long-term contract in Jacksonville. Duvall, I love you and gave you guys everything I got. I'm thankful for the journey and look forward to continuing my career elsewhere. Really obvious statement there. He wants out. He gone. Now, Ngakoue is a very unique prospect in the sense that he has not yet turned 25. We'll do that later in March. And has had 4 consecutive years with at least 8 sacks. That type of production at that age doesn't come across very often. That is rather unique ability. Now, Jacksonville, if they do have to move on from him, will miss him. You have Calais Campbell, not a whole lot out there in terms of edge. You do have Josh Allen. That's a huge impact there. But beyond those top 3, go on Smoot, not great. You already let go of Marcel Darius, and that Jacksonville defense that a couple of years ago was so good, isn't quite in the same spot as it once was. And if you do lose Yannick Ngakoue, that's a big deal for Jacksonville. It could be a potentially massive loss, but if you can trade him, as we'll get into in a little bit, well, you might end up getting a pretty decent return. So we're going to break down 5 teams and some bonus honorable mentions that I think make sense for Yannick in 2020. But before we do that, I want to hear from you guys. Where will Yannick play in 2020? Let me know in the comment section. In fact, I will make this the pinned comment of the video. That way, if you get an ad break here on YouTube, you can just scroll on down and put your best guess right there. All right, at number 5, the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, they've got picks number 12 and 19 in round 1, 3 third-round picks, but there is no second-rounder. That might have some issues in terms of finding proper trade value. But they have plenty of cap space. So from that perspective, the Raiders do still make sense. And even though their pass rush was much improved last year, mostly behind Max Crosby, the Raiders were still tied for 24th last season with just 32 sacks. So yes, pass rush is still needed. On the bright side for Las Vegas, and as great as Crosby played, he wasn't even their earliest defensive end draft pick. Cleveland Ferrell actually filled that role. But I would wonder if Oakland would be down to have 3 guys who can play that role, and they want to be able to move Ferrell around. So on pass downs, you can still make that work, and it helps that Ferrell and Crosby are still pretty cheap. So the Raiders only check in at number 5 because I wonder if they'll spend their money elsewhere, but I do still think they make sense. Some other fits I wanted to mention. I would love to see him on the Ravens. I don't quite know how I'm going to be able to juggle that. Bucks makes sense if they let go of Shaq Barrett. Tennessee and Houston will have to keep him in division along with the Colts, so that seems a bit unlikely. And then the Eagles, by the way. They are normally super aggressive, so I want to make note of them. But I wonder if this offseason, if the secondary is a bigger priority for Philadelphia. That's why those teams didn't quite crack my top 5. I have a request for you guys. Can you double check that your notifications are actually turned on? This might surprise many of you. Only 18.2% of you guys have your notifications on and are subscribed to everything, not just the personalized option. So scroll down, check that bell. Make sure you have all selected and not just a select amount. Only 18.2% of you do. So even if you think you're part of the Noti gang here at Chat Sports, you might not actually be. All right, number 4, the Seattle Seahawks. They've got a decision to make at several different spots on their defensive line. Reed, Clowney, Ziggy Ansah, as we'll get into, are all free agents. And they have shown a historical willingness to be aggressive. Remember, they just traded not that long ago for Jadeveon Clowney. The issue here for Seattle is what could be an issue. It's tough to afford both Clowney and Ngakoue just because of the way the cap works. You could make it work if you really wanted to. You can make it work for any 1 or 2 individual players. Does get a little bit dicey, though, in terms of addressing your other areas of need. Remember, Clowney's a free agent. Jaron Reed's a free agent. Ansah's a free agent, and Quentin Jefferson is a free agent. Brandon Jackson, also a free agent. All of those guys were key rotational players for Seattle, if not outright starters. So if you lose Clowney in free agency, do you trust LJ Collier and Rasheem Green to step up? If the answer is yes, okay, do that. If not, you should maybe go out and explore an option like Yannick Ngakoue in a trade or just outright free agency if the Jags don't end up tagging him. Now, today's show is brought to you by BetDSI. You can head over to chatsports.com/bet. Use that promo code NFL120 for a 120% deposit bonus. It is March Madness right now. It's going to be an unusual year for that, I'm certain. Now, there is the BetDSI Bracket Madness. What that is, it's a free entry for all BetDSI users and thousands of dollars in prizes and prizes for all finishers if you can get the most picks right when you fill out a bracket. First place, $10K. Second place, $5K. Third place, $2.5K. I know you guys are all going to fill out a bracket this year. Why don't you put one on BetDSI too for free if you're already signed up and deposited and maybe win some extra money? Yeah, it's chatsports.com/bet. That promo code NFL120 gets you the deposit money that you don't even have to spend on the Bracket Madness. Back to Seattle here, by the way. I wanted to compare the top two, I think, potentially available edge rushers in free agency or sign-in trade. Yannick Ngakoue and Jadeveon Clowney. The tackles and tackles for loss in favor of Clowney. The sacks, meanwhile, are in favor of Yannick. 9.4 versus 6.9 on average last 4 years. Clowney had a pretty down year in terms of sacks. You'll love the 9.5. It's obvious both these guys are worth paying. Where things get interesting to me is actually on the pressure side of it. Just an average of 37 per year for Yannick, almost 61 for Clowney. Now, Clowney historically hasn't finished the same rate that most players do. He gets pressures, doesn't always result in sacks. Yannick, meanwhile, hey, if you're consistently getting 8 sacks a year, maybe the pressure rate isn't the best indicator there. So there are some pros and cons to both players, so pick one. Who would you rather have on your roster? Let's assume the contracts end up being similar. Type N for Yannick Ngakoue or C for Jadeveon Clowney. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section. Number 3, the Miami Dolphins. This is my favorite way to describe why they should try and acquire a premier pass rusher. Number 1, they have 6 of the top 70 picks in this year's draft. They have the most cap space of any NFL team at $88 million. And they have the worst pass rush in the NFL, having posted just 23 sacks last season. That checks off literally every single box when it comes to a potential destination for Yannick. Look at their defensive line depth chart. You might have, technically speaking, 3 first-round picks. Charles Harris and Taco Charlton ain't it. Charlton, a couple sacks, also got benched down the stretch there. Avery Moss, Jonathan Ledbetter, and a couple of Sam linebacker hybrids who also rushed the passer. That's not good enough. So we mentioned how a trade could be possible for Yannick Ngakoue and the Jags. Here's one that I will throw out there. And you guys can let me know if this is too much. The Dolphins, of course, get Yannick to help their defensive end spot. The Jags get a first-round pick. Now, Miami has so much draft capital and cap space, you could trade a first-round pick, still have 2 available, and tons of cap space, and you get a premier player entering his age 25 season. The Jags, meanwhile, get a top 32 pick, a first-round pick, for a player that they might lose in free agency. They get more right now than they would if he would ever leave in free agency down the road. So is he worth a first-round pick? It's a tough discussion. Talent-wise, absolutely. But you're also not just paying him. You're also giving him a premium draft pick. You're doing 2 things that NFL teams don't always like to do. That is a very big deal for NFL franchises. That's why these tag-in trades don't happen very often. So let me know. Is he worth the first? 1 for yes, 2 for no. Number 2, the New York Giants. They have needed pass rush help for a very long time. Frankly, too long of a time as far as I'm concerned. Really since the JPP era kind of went a little bit south. Now, they did trade one of their round 3 picks, but they got one back in the comp pick process. And they've got just south of $80 million in cap space. But the Giants also have plenty of needs. I like that fit for Yannick a lot more, and I think they might be more willing to gamble on it. Maybe say the Dolphins could be, and it's certainly a big-time fit in that more 3-4 scheme. Here's what I would do if I'm New York. Why would I pay Leonard Williams? Instead, I can just keep starting B.J. Hill because I'm fine on the defensive line. I might lose Marcus Golden. Boom, I can throw in Yannick and Lorenzo Carter, no Shane Zimenez, and I feel pretty good about my overall pass rush and defensive line. Ngakoue would fit a huge, huge need for the Giants. I like his fit just a little bit more than Miami, and I do want to make note here, we've also seen players not want to go to Miami, but if the checkbook opens up, the Giants have money to spend as well. They might be a little bit more aggressive trying to win right now, given the GM's potentially hot seat status. I think it makes sense. Now, we've told you guys about this deal before, the NFL Nike jerseys under $80. They're still available, although supplies are starting to get a little bit limited. It's chatsports.com/jersey deal. They've got Saquon Barkley. They've got Russell Wilson. They've got all kinds of jerseys and color schemes. They all look great. It's chatsports.com/jersey deal. To make your life easier, by the way, I've put that link in the comments and the description. So all you got to do is click shop, find your team, buy yourself an awesome new jersey. At number 1, after what I think that's a big 3 for Yannick, the Buffalo Bills. The pass rush, it is not bad. Please don't take it as that way. But Jerry Hughes is aging. Shaq Lawson's a free agent. Trent Murphy's fine. They got almost $82 million in cap space, and they don't have anywhere near the amount of needs, at least I don't think, that the Giants have. So why not make a bold move? It's not a coincidence, by the way, that the top 3 teams for Yannick happen to have the top 3 or 3 of the top 5 most cap space available in 2020. He's going to be expensive. He might be $22 million a year. He's young, entering his prime. It's probably worth it there. Remember the Bills, their edge rusher. Their defense is really good. It's probably top 5 in the NFL. If there's a weakness on it, I wonder if it is at the pass rush spot. Jerry Hughes is aging. I'm fine with Trent Murphy. You might lose Shaq Lawson. Put Yannick on that defensive line. Ooh, boy. That's a really good unit. Throw some more money and draft picks on the offensive line receiving core. Oh, you're going to try and make a run at the AFC East next year. So my top 5 destinations here, the Bills are 1, Giants 2, Dolphins 3. You can flip those 3 around. I think Miami's a sleeper I haven't seen mentioned very much, but they have the need and assets available. Seattle at 4, and the Las Vegas Raiders checking in at number 5.